You're watching France 24. Time now for a look at the day's business news with our business editor, Kate Moody. Thanks for joining us on set, Kate. We're going to start out with some much-needed good news for Greek savers. Those banks will be finally opening their doors again.
Yeah, remember, they've been closed for going on 3 weeks now. We'll finally be seeing limited service on Monday. This after the European Central Bank agreed to increase the ceiling of emergency liquidity assistance. That's the money that it provides to help keep the Greek banking system afloat. Capital controls will remain in place for the time being, although the restrictions will begin to be loosened, as Laurent Berstecker explains.
It's the news they have been waiting for, yet Greek citizens may have to queue up at ATMs a while longer. After being closed for almost 3 weeks, Greek banks will reopen on Monday, a measure that doesn't necessarily spell the end of capital controls.
People can go to the counter, conduct a number of transactions. They can't, however, withdraw money. They can deposit cash or transfer money from one account to the other. They can get money from ATMs outside the bank, 60 euros a day.
A 60 euro limit that will be kept in place for now, but with a slight change in procedure.
If someone doesn't take out 60 euros on Monday, then he can take out 120 on Tuesday or 180 on Wednesday.
With this, the Greek government hopes to stabilize a fragile banking system that has seen large amounts of individual withdrawals and wire transfers drain its reserves over the past months. Thursday's announcement came after the European Central Bank agreed to raise emergency liquidity assistance to Greek banks by 900 million euros, an encouraging sign for the Greek economy. Some analysts now say it's time to lift capital controls.
The capital controls are affecting the rest of the economy. A lot of companies cannot operate properly, and the more fragile one will disappear. And this, in turn, will create additional damages to the Greek banking system.
As part of the country's new bailout package, up to 25 billion euros could be injected into the system. This should help Greek banks get back on their feet. They will now need to regain the population's trust.
Meanwhile, we've also been hearing from the IMF chief, Christine Lagarde, this morning. She's been repeating her calls for a comprehensive debt restructuring. She says it's absolutely necessary for Greece's bailout plan to be viable, and this is something we'll be hearing much more about as this process continues over the next hours and days.
I'm sure we will. Let's move on to the markets now. Kate, how are they trading today?
We're seeing a fairly positive picture in Asia as the Nikkei hits its highest level in weeks. The Japanese yen has been steadily losing value. The Shanghai Composite is leading the gains there, up well over 2.5%, as you can see, doing its best to put that 3-week sell-off behind it, following some sharp emergency measures from the government last week. European investors, meanwhile, will be keeping a close eye on Berlin, where German lawmakers are expected to vote on Greece's bailout, and that's likely to be a driving factor on the European markets when they open for business this Friday. Turning to some of the day's other business headlines now, General Electric says it has offered concessions to EU regulators as it seeks approval to take over Alstom's power unit. The American conglomerate has made a €12.4 billion bid for the French-based business. Regulators fear it could hamper fair competition within the EU and lead to higher prices for gas turbines. EU had been trying to convince authorities that their concerns were misplaced. Google saw its shares rise in after-hours trading as it reported better-than-expected earnings for the second quarter. Revenue rose 11% to $17.7 billion from a year earlier. Analysts say that the tech giant's new chief financial officer is charting a new path of austerity and trying to cut back big spending on risky projects. And Samsung shareholders have approved an $8 billion merger of 2 of its affiliates, despite fierce opposition from a U.S. hedge fund. More than 2/3 of shareholders voted on Friday morning to allow Samsung's de facto holding company to merge with its construction and trading arm. It gives more control to the heir apparent Lee Jae-yong, who's expected to take over as head of Samsung Electronics from his ailing father.
And we'll round out the business news, Kate, with a new smartphone hitting the market specifically for music lovers.
Yeah, this is being launched by Marshall, which is one of the world's top makers of amplifiers and headphones. Its new phone is being made by Android. It has traditional smartphone features like internet access and apps, but its technology puts music center stage with a focus on high sound quality and recording.
Like, how can you listen better? making better speakers, making sure that you have an equalizer, having a good sound card that gives out the music in the higher definition. And then we looked at how do you create. So we put in some software so you can create music, and we put on microphones, stereo microphones that is studio-like. It's all about music.
Sounds like a good buy. Thanks very much for that. Kate Moody, our business editor here on France 24. Do stay with us. Lots more news and analysis still to come.